Hey guys, in today's video we're going to take a look at how to change out all the fluids in the driveline except for the transmission in a 2010 Toyota 4Runner. Now this will work for 2010 to present as well as most other vehicles, though tools and quantities of liquids may vary. First we're going to take a look at the tools used, then we're going to take a look at the supplies needed, and then we are going to work our way from the front to the back, starting with changing out the engine oil, front diff, transfer case, and finally the rear differential. Okay, as far as tools go, here's everything you're going to need. A drain pan, a torque wrench, a breaker bar, 1/2 inch extension, 3/8 extension, a funnel, a 12mm, a 14mm, 24mm socket, a 10mm Allen socket, a 3/8 ratchet, some gloves, and I'm going to be using an impact driver as well as this fluid transfer pump. Okay, for our supplies needed, we've got our 7590 gear oil. This will be used for our front and rear differentials. We've got our MTV LV oil. This will be used for the transfer case. Now, Toyota does have their own fluid. It's a 75 fluid, but it's extremely expensive and it's hard to find. And this meets all the requirements for that same 75 weight fluid. So we'll be using that. We've got our engine oil, 020. Paper towels, gonna need some shop rags. Oil filter. We have our various crush washers. Say that 5 times fast. Our various crush washers. Anytime you remove a drain plug or a fill plug, you should replace the crush washer to help avoid leaks down the road. And then as a bonus, we're throwing in a new battery in Mary's 4Runner. It's been having a hard time starting. I think it might even have the original battery in there still. So it's got a 550 cold cranking amp battery, and now that we're in the mountains, or near the mountains, it gets colder here in Colorado. Up that to a 750, same 24F size battery. Let's get started. Okay, before we can start draining our fluids, first thing we need to do is remove our skid plates. Now we already have the front skid plate off of Mary's because we were doing some suspension work. So you'll have to remove your front skid plate. And you also have to remove your middle skid plate here in order to gain access to the front differential. You've got 4 bolts, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're going to be a 12mm. One of ours broke off, so we only have 3. Again, that's a 12mm. You can either use a ratchet. I'm going to buzz them off with the impact gun. And now we have access to our front differential. And when you take the front skid plate off, that'll give you access to your oil filter up front. Pop the hood. One of the first things I always like to do is when I'm draining a fluid and refilling it, I always like to remove the fill cap first. I do it on the engine as well. It's less important because it pretty much never gets stuck. We'll go ahead and come in here, pull that off just so we know when we drain our fluid, we're going to be able to fill it back up. This is more important when you're talking your differentials and your transfer case because those plugs have a habit of getting stuck. So you always want to make sure you undo or at least break free the fill plug before you drain your fluid. So now that your skid plates are off and your filler cap is open on your engine, we need to drain the oil pan. Here's our front differential. Here's the oil pan. It takes a 14mm socket or wrench, and go ahead and have your drain pan ready to go. We're going to crack this free, slide this under, and let it drain out. Sometimes you can do this without getting a drop on you. It's a quick movement. Alright, so we'll let that drain out. Put our bolt back there. Sometimes your crush washer will come off when you pull out the plug. Other times it'll remain stuck to the oil pan like it has here on mine. So you want to make sure you pop that off. And that's on there pretty good. There it goes. So we'll grab this crush washer, we'll match it up to the right one from the kit, and that way we'll have a brand new washer in there and no leaks. Since dirt and debris can collect there, I always take a paper towel and wipe off that surface. Make sure it's nice and clean and free from debris. You'll still have a little oil dripping out, that's okay. And I'll do the same. I'll just take it, I'll just give it a good wipe down all around that flange surface. Make sure there's no burrs, and that looks pretty good. We've got our new crush washer. Slide that bad boy on there and run her home. Snug that up and call it good. Just kidding. We need to torque it down to 27 foot-pounds. That is what the factory service manual calls out. There we are. 27 foot-pounds. Wipe her off. All right, now we're going to pop off our oil filter housing and remove the internal oil filter, replace it with a new filter, and slap her back up there. I've got a non-original oil filter housing. This is a cast aluminum part. The factory one is plastic. A lot of guys end up upgrading these because they're more durable, so that's what we did. I can drop links to this, crush washers, and any special tools that I got. So that way you guys can track those down as well. I would recommend it. It's kind of a peace of mind so that that doesn't crack when you're removing it or who knows what. There is a 3/8 square drive attachment in the bottom, and you can break it free via that. Push up, cracker free. Always makes a royal mess. All right, we'll let that drain for a little bit. Okay, we've got our filter housing and our filter here. And we just need to pop out the filter. It should just pull straight out. Easy peasy. I'm doing this over a old plastic lid just to help contain the mess. There's the old filter. New filter. You need a 10158. We went with their Fram's mid-range, the Tough Guard. So this will have our new filter and O-rings. That's important. So you'll notice your pack of O-rings comes with a large O-ring and a small O-ring. I believe that goes around this cap alone. I think you can pull that out just to drain if you're not actually replacing your filter. I never undo that, and I don't have any leaks, so for now I'm just going to leave that as is and not put in that new O-ring. You make that call for yourself though. But we will replace this outer O-ring as it does see some use when threading in and removing the filter housing. Just get under there. You want to try not to mar any of the surfaces, obviously. That will affect how it seals. So get under there, pull up, and walk it off. We'll take our new O-ring. I always use some of the oil from inside there just to lube it up a little bit. We'll start it in that groove. Just walk it around. Try not to rub it along any of the threads. There's a potential that they could cut the O-ring if you do that. And we got our filter, but it just pops into place. All right, let's get this threaded back in. Take your time because this O-ring is sliding on that interior surface, sealing surface, so you want to make sure you're not rushing it and getting that caught. So we'll snug that up. I'll get the torque wrench set to 18 foot-pounds, get that torqued in, and we'll be set. If you're anything like me and you use the same funnel to drain old liquids and fill new liquids, you want to make sure that you got it cleaned out inside, because we don't want to be introducing any contaminants into the engine. It's likely that any small dust or anything isn't going to be problematic, but why risk it? Just clean it out. Sometimes you got to hit it from both ends. Squeaky clean. All right. You don't have to use a funnel. I always like to because it makes less of a mess. Now's the time to do a double check. Did you put your drain plug back in the engine, in the oil pan? And did you torque it? Yes. Did you put your oil filter back in? And did you torque it? Yes. Awesome. We're ready to dump in 6.6 quarts of liquid gold. Wasn't too long ago, Mary took this to get an oil change on it. It blew my mind how much that cost. It says like 120 bucks for a full synthetic oil change with a filter. Save this, you can dump your old oil into it. Oftentimes like AutoZone or some of those stores will let you dump your old oil for free. But as I was saying, yeah, it was like 120 bucks or so for an oil change. So if you're watching this video, either you're interested in saving money or you just like doing your own work, either way I support it. I want to say we spent probably like 45 bucks including the filter. 45 bucks and a little bit of elbow grease. One, you'll know the work was done right because you did it yourself. Take pride in that. And two, you save some money. All right, let's check the dipstick. All right, whenever you check your dipstick, pull it out. Don't even look at it. Wipe it off. Stick it back in, all the way down, seat it, and then pull it back out. And we'll check it then. Looks good to me. We are hitting our high mark. And if you ever forget what oil you have, the caps pretty much always have listed on there. So here it says SAE 0W20. Just in case you're ever at the store and you forget, just go out and check your cap. Underneath the front of the truck right now, this is forward, this is left. So we're hugging the driver's side front tire. And this is our front differential, our drain plug. Right up here, we have our fill plug. So like I mentioned before, we're going to remove the fill plug first. I've got a 3/8 ratchet with our 10mm Allen. And then I've got a extra bar attached to it as a breaker bar. Make sure that's seated in there all the way. If you've been off-roading, you probably have some dirt in it, and it might make it hard to get it in all the way. So make sure it's seated in all the way. Ah. All right, that's free. Ooh, it's tight. Oh, baby. Okay. We might need to get some heat on it. I'm gonna go borrow my neighbor's blowtorch. When you're doing this, you want to make sure to target the heat on the casing and not directly on the plug, because what we're trying to do here is expand the casing a little bit to break free from the plug. Fudge! Really sorry I couldn't show you actually changing out the front diff fluid. I tried PB Blaster, I tried blowtorch, let it sit for a few hours, nothing. And in fact, I actually ended up stripping out that plug. I did the exact same thing on my 98 4Runner, so it seems like it's kind of a design flaw on Toyota's part. Again, I don't know why they wouldn't have just used that same 24mm socket. Kind of a bummer. So what I ended up doing actually on my 3rd gen was I took a flange nut and I actually welded it on in order to be able to break free that plug. So I might have to end up doing something similar. First I'll try a back out bit of some kind, but I gotta go to the store to pick up something for that. There's a good chance you might encounter the same thing. Forewarned. Alright, time for the transfer case. So again, just like with the others, we've got our fill plug and our drain plug. So first we're gonna break free our fill plug. It's a 24mm socket. Something I forgot to mention earlier. You wanna make sure you're parked on a level surface, forward and backward. When we fill up these differentials in this transfer case, all you do is you fill it up until it starts overflowing. Once it starts dripping out, you plug it back up. So if you're tilted too far forward, you're gonna end up getting too much fluid in. And if your front end is up, you're gonna get too little fluid, both of which can be problematic. So make sure you're parked on a flat level surface before you start in on this. Ooh, nice and easy. See, why can't they use the 24mm on the front diff? It is just so much nicer. Oh yeah. Wow, that looks really good actually. I don't know the last time, if ever, these fluids were changed. We bought this 4Runner with 212,000 miles on it. You just never know, and it's best to take care of it so you know you're starting with some fresh fluids. Okay, both of these fill plug and the drain plug are identical, and they're both going to take... So it's a solid aluminum washer. And again, wipe off our surface to make sure it's nice and clean. Grab your torque wrench and your 24mm socket. And this is going to be 27 foot-pounds is what we're torquing this to. 27 foot-pounds. That's it. Don't go any tighter. So this should take 1.6 quarts. And again, we are using this MTLV oil. It's a 75 weight equivalent to what Toyota uses, but it's relatively affordable at least. We're just going to fill it up until it starts dribbling out of the top. We're going to use this fluid transfer pump. Still takes a little bit of elbow grease to pump it all, but it is way nicer and easier than trying to get up here and tilt a bottle and you end up making a heck of a mess. And start pumping. Well, we are there already. We are dripping out. So again, wipe this off, make sure it's nice and clean. And the fill plug is also getting torqued to 27 foot-pounds. There it is. Done with the transfer case. Alright, here we are at the rear differential. Fill plug, drain plug, and you guessed it, we're going to take care of that fill plug first just to make sure we can get it open. Don't want to be left with an empty diff. She's free. And you open up that top one, it'll allow it to flow better. Same process as usual. We will replace our crush washers, wipe off both of our surfaces, and the rear axle should take roughly 2.9 quarts. Again, we're just going to fill it up on a level surface until it starts flowing out the rear. We can also take a look at our drain plug here. It's common to find very fine metal shavings. You don't want to see any large pieces of metal. And this is all extremely, it's almost like a very, very fine paste. And after 230 some thousand miles, you can expect to see some of that. But again, no clumps. That's great. The crush washers that we're using on the rear here, it's a zinc crush washer, I guess, and it's not solid. So it's kind of like a ring inside of a ring. You probably can't tell in the video, but that's what we are using for both of these. And both the drain and the fill are getting torqued to 36 foot-pounds. 36 foot-pounds. I ended up discovering I could actually wedge the bottle up in here. So we should be pretty close to the end. There it is. We are torquing this to 36 foot-pounds. Alright, there she is. We'll get some brake cleaner, spray all this down, get rid of all the oil. Well, that about sums it up for changing out all the fluids in your Driveline. If you have any questions on what to do, feel free to drop them down below in the comments. I've done this many times between this 4Runner now and my 3rd gen. It's pretty straightforward. All you need is a couple basic tools. Like I said, I'll drop some links down below in the description on where to get some of these crush washers, a couple of these specialty tools like the 10mm Allen. Most people don't have that. It's just sitting in their toolbox. But yeah, last but not least, figured I'd just save it till the end. We're going to switch out this battery. It's super simple. Most of you have probably done it before, but I'm going to go ahead and show it for those of you who haven't. All you're going to need is a 10mm deep well socket and also a 10mm box end wrench. In the 4Runner, you've got your positive on the engine side and your negative on the fender side. You always want to make sure you undo the negative side of your battery first. Reason being, if I come over here and I start trying to take off the positive side and I contact the frame, well, I'm closing that circuit and you're going to get zapped and maybe blow a fuse even. So we're going to start over here. All we need is a 10mm. Just loosen this up. That should wiggle free. Nice. Just tuck that down below there. And now you're good to break free the positive side. Again, same thing. 10mm, just break it free. Bada bing, bada boom. And then now it's held in here with a couple J clamps, or J hooks if you will, right here, here and here. So we'll just take that same 10mm deep well, slip that hook out the bottom, pull out the front hook, and then just swivel it around to the back, and your battery's free to come out. After up there. Keep your battery cables out of the way. It should plop down in there nicely. Just like that. We'll go ahead and swivel this bracket back around. Keep some upward tension on it while you tighten it down. Otherwise that J-hook wants to fall out that backside. Grab your other hook. Fish it on through there. And then hook it into that opening down there. Now we'll just cinch it down. Give it the old wiggle test. And then the obligatory, that ain't going anywhere. And then we're going to want to go in reverse. So now we will take our positive side and put it on first. I like to wiggle it, pinch it, make sure it gets a nice solid connection, and cinch her down. Same thing here, you don't have to kill it. You'll end up stripping this bolt. And lastly, our negative side. And cinch her down. Now, let's fire her up and see if she starts. Beautiful. Not beautiful. A little weird. But I think we're good. Like I said, guys, super simple to switch out a battery. Any one of you can do it. And you don't have to go to the auto parts store and waste their time. You can just get her done yourself. And again, take pride in the work that you're doing on your own vehicles. So, again, fluid changes, super easy. Pull out your fill plug first to make sure that it can come undone, because you know how my front diff, the drain plug, wouldn't come undone? That just as easily could have been the fill plug, and if you drain that first, you're kind of screwed. You just turn your vehicle upside down, I guess. So, really easy. Make sure you torque everything. Use new crush washers. Got some links down below in the description. That's about all there is to it. It's pretty simple. Put your skid plates back on when you're done, and you're ready to rock and roll. If you liked what you saw, would appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up down below. Maybe subscribe. Plan on doing more maintenance and modification videos, both for Mary's 5th gen and for my 3rd gen back there. Maybe some for the Lexus. Don't have anything planned yet for that. But got videos like that, and then we post up videos on our travels, getting out into the mountains and hiking and camping and off-roading, overlanding, you name it, right? We're really enjoying doing a lot of that. So if you're into that sort of shit, subscribe, stick around to see what we're up to next. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys on the next one.